Did anyone know that in Australia there is an active splinter group of Scientology?
As you've been described in Parliament as a seedy con man, a liar, a cheat and a bully. What do you say to that?
In this video, I'm going to give my opinion on the formation of what I believe is a cult, the similarities between their techniques and Scientology's, and the damage that has been caused. So let's dive right in. Kenneth Emmanuel Dyers, born in Sydney, 1922. Claimed to have survived the streets of Sydney during the Great Depression, before leaving home at the age of 14, taking odd jobs such as cleaning pots at the college and working at a butcher's. He enlisted in the Australian Army in 1941, and like a certain other cult leader, he embellished his military career. He claimed to have served with distinction as an artilleryman in Australia's 9th Division in the Second World War, seconded to British counterintelligence, and then seeing action at El Alamein. But in reality, he only reached the rank of corporal and was demoted to private shortly after. He was court-martialed 3 times. And in late 1943, he was put in jail for 5 days awaiting trial on 3 charges, and eventually convicted of conduct prejudice to the good order and military discipline. The next year, he was fined for leaving his sentry post, and then fined again for misconduct. His records also refer to an assessment of his mental instability, which was rated at 10. It was said that he was prone to lots of aggressive outbursts. In 1946, they finally had enough of him and they discharged him. After being chucked out of the army, he worked as a salesman for a while, selling encyclopedias door to door. In 1950, he copywrote a book named A Simple Accounting System. And in the mid-50s, he joined Scientology. He rose up the ranks pretty quickly and became an ethics officer. Ken was very egotistical and believed he knew better than everyone else, including his counterpart. So he started having disagreements within the quote-unquote church about Hubbard being the only source. And in 1973, he was declared a suppressive person. Even though he was declared, he still very much believed in the tech, but he had his own ideas about it and thought he knew better.
The thing is, the source of all this spiritual knowledge all comes from Ron Hubbard. Hubbard is glorified as the source. Now, they kicked me out for and they hated me for was I said, I don't agree that Ron Hubbard is the source of this knowledge.
Anyway, he up and left for Queensland. And during his time there, he was practicing the use of the tech without the e-meter. In other words, he was being a squirrel. He was actually developing his own technique. In my opinion, he used a mixture of Book 1 auditing, which is learnt in Dianetics, and TR0. Book 1 auditing is when 2 people sit on chairs opposite each other. The auditor has their eyes open and the pre-clear has their eyes closed. They're asked questions and guided to an incident in their life where they were feeling negative. This can also include past lives. The purpose of this is to clear your engrams. TR0 is an exercise where, again, you're sitting opposite each other, this time with your eyes open and staring at each other until you no longer react. Both of these techniques on their own can cause you to go into a hypnotic state or to even fall asleep or hallucinate. So Ken mixed both of those techniques together and called it Energy Conversion Meditation, or ECM for short, and went on to form his own meditation group. After around 5 years, he then met a lady named Jan Hamilton. Hamilton was 26 years Dyer's junior and was a school teacher, a playwright and an actress. Jan specialised in something called clowning. Clowning is a method of acting used by performers to turn any situation into something funny. It's also used to connect to the inner child of a person, and Jan was teaching regular classes to people for a couple of years before her and Ken decided to collaborate. They got married 4 years after meeting and decided to form a communications group together. So in 1982, they formed Kenja Communications. Kenja was a mixture of their names, Ken and Jan. They marketed themselves as a communications and personal development organisation. They sold seminars and workshops on how to improve your life, your business and your communication skills, as well as Ken's processing sessions and Jan's clowning classes. Recruitment was through welcome evenings, with invitations sent through existing friendship networks or work networks. What people don't realise is these welcome nights are the start of the induction process, with lots of love bombing.
I turned up to their information night and here I am, like, I don't know, 15 years later.
I think people are fantastic. I think you're all fantastic. I hope you have enough beingness to yourself to at least give this a whirl. Give it a try. You can book in for a PC, no charge, and see whether or not it's appropriate for you, because we will not we won't work with you if we feel it's not going to work for you at this stage.
I went to an information night. Yeah, just helping people get aligned with their purpose, cause a creative effect on the planet.
I had a shop and a lady came in and said, do you want to go to an open night? And she had lovely, nice sort of energies, and that's when, we talk about energy, but, she lovely, nice energies, and I said, oh yeah, what is it? So I came in and I loved it.
Your ticketing entitles you to a free personal consultation if you're interested in finding out more about the Kenja work. There are consultants who have made the time available for you to see them this week. So book in at the bookings table.
As well as the open nights, they'd often send members into the city centre to sell flowers or donuts and to advertise one of their theatre productions. They grew quite quickly and opened 4 centres, 2 in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne and 1 in Canberra. Kenja also offered a lot of activities including netball, hockey, fencing, soccer, touch football, basketball, Australian rules, tennis, gymnastics, athletics, sailing, aerobics, kayaking, ballroom dancing and many more. This was a very effective way of recruiting members, especially through the sporting events. Having a lot of activities is pretty commonplace in cults to keep the members exhausted so that they're more susceptible to being manipulated. But also so they don't have time to evaluate the situation they're in.
Being able to work towards achieving my purpose.
I think the common purpose that we hold together of creating something better for the country and for the planet will sustain Kenja for a long time.
We have a wonderful technology. Don't underestimate energy conversion.
As well as all the activities, Ken would also train members to become processors. Those processors would then go and recruit other people. So it was pretty much a pyramid scheme. During the very early years of Kenja, Ken was actually promoting Scientology books. He would ask all members to buy a copy of Dianetics, Hubbard's 0 to Infinity. He would teach the tone scale. And he used to talk about how he was a squirrel and how Scientology were fair gaming him by putting banana skins and letters on his car. According to records, Kenja was officially declared a suppressive group by Scientology in 1992. So moving on to some of Kenja's beliefs. Ken had a time, space and energy theory, which was similar to Hubbard's MEST, matter, energy, space and time. And he believed in thetans.
All right, we're not a body. Are we a mind? I don't think so.
So I just want to talk a little bit more about Ken's energy conversion sessions. Energy conversion or processing sessions are carried out by meditation consultants, or MCs for short. Similar to Scientology, they like to use abbreviations Kenja, and MCs can also be known as processors, just to make it sound a little bit more fancy. The process is to sit opposite each other very still and look into each other's eyes. The purpose of that is to draw out thoughts or issues from past or present to find a consideration or an incident. At the beginning, when you first join Kenja, you're just told that these are negative energies, but as time goes on and the indoctrination continues, you're told that they are spirits. Ken believed and taught that there are negative spirits that need to be located and cleared as they are causing negative emotions. This can be from past lifetimes. So as well as Ken looking into your eyes, he claims that by enabling the stillness of the other person, this allows them to become conscious of negative energies that are affecting their lives and thoughts, and then they can dissipate them. These attached spirits also come in clusters, and Ken did actually refer to them as thetans in the early days. So the objective is to rid yourself of all these spirits that are stuck onto you and become clear. And when you're clear, that means you're in your natural state, which is a superhuman state, a human nova. This is very similar to Scientology. Obviously, you become clear, you go up the bridge, and you become what they call homo novas, which is also a superior being to the rest of the human race. The people that are being trained to use these techniques on others, the processors, are basically being trained to control other people, and the people that are being processed are being conditioned to accept abuse and to be controlled. So this is definitely not meditation. Members of Kenja are encouraged to have 2 sessions a week, which are around $130 a pop, plus a group session and 1 activity. They also hold various seminars and workshops. In some of the workshops, Scientology routines are taught, such as wall walking, which is another method of control. They would also teach touch assists and contact assists. Here is an ex-member of Kenja talking about her experience.
Because at first there was no mention of attached spirits. At first we processed on energy centres. To clear the blocks we had in all those energy centres. It was only later that he started to talk about attached spirits and that we believed that we were processing on them. So you were drawn in. You weren't taken into something that the mind would immediately recognise as being completely and utterly outlandish. Because certainly when you're out recruiting, you don't tell them exactly what it's all about. You talk about, if they want friends, well, there's lots of nice people in Kenja. If you want to improve your life, well, then why not try it? This is a great opportunity. There is no informed consent, none whatsoever in Kenja. You do not know what you're going in for, but to a degree, of course, you do. You know you're going along to have a session. You know they have dancing, but the agenda of being trapped so that you will go back week after week after week and contribute to somebody's retirement fund is certainly not a known thing. That your mind will be captured and changed. That you will, if they are good enough and you are responding equally and are good enough too, that you will leave and change. You know that you will change your mind. You will leave everything that you believed that you loved and cared about to be a Kenjan. They would give free labour. Nobody worked. Nobody got paid to only the professionals, but nobody else. And all the work was done. All the renovations were done. Everything was done. If we needed money, we fundraised. So it didn't come out of any revenue. The nakedness was not so much a big thing in wall walking, but certainly in my case, I would be processed naked because I was a committed Kenjan. You couldn't leave the room. You'd have a bucket in case you wanted to vomit or in case you wanted to go to the toilet. And the processor would have to stand, your processor would have to stand in the same place for the entire 4 hours and repeat the same set of commands. And the first command was, you walk that body over to that wall. And I would stand there, and on that command, I'd walk over to the wall. I'd get to the wall and I'd just stand and look at the wall, because you couldn't jump the gun. And the next command was, with that body's hand, you touch that wall, and touch the wall, put your hand down, and still stand. And they would say, thank you. And then you turn that body around, so only then could you turn your body around, face the processor, still standing there, and then again say thank you. And then you walk that body back to that wall. And that went on for 4 hours. Or until you were no longer upset and angry, because you get very, very angry and very, very upset because you were being controlled. You couldn't jump the gun. I couldn't scratch my scratch my head or decide to turn around before I was told. It would start again. That setter command would start again. And it was 4 hours of just being controlled.
So the same control methods are used, and members are also told to keep what happens a secret.
Some gains from the workshop. People come to this workshop on a basis of trust. Is it okay that you don't discuss with anyone who wasn't here what has happened at the workshop, as it could be misunderstood if it was taken out of context? Is that okay with everyone? Yes. Please raise your hand if that's not okay with anyone. Thank you.
Ken also used to talk about a lot of galactic stuff that was very similar to the Xenu story, except the Overlord was called Xenon and was much older, at 1 billion years old instead of 1 million years old. Ken would also reminisce about being an ancient space god who had been sent down to Earth to save mankind. He also mentioned that he'd sorted out Jesus Christ, and that he was here to get rid of all the bad actors. Another similarity, in my opinion, between Kenja and Scientology was the fact that they were very anti-drugs, anti-psychiatry, anti-alcohol, and anti-smoking.
We won't work with people who are involved in illegal drugs. We don't work with people who are involved in criminality. We won't work with people who are, say, destroying their lives with alcohol. And we won't work with people who are basically suppressive towards mankind.
It's very important. You'll find that in the Code of Ethics.
Here we have the wonderful Ken talking about autistic children and how he can cure them.
Many of them were forceps babies. So they had pain the minute they were brought into the world with these forceps on their head, And when I was working with them, they would say to me, oh, I've got a picture of forceps on my head being drawn out. And once I get them to re-experience those forceps and the pain of the forceps, they would stop being autistic, because that's when it all started. That's when they made the decision, I'm not going to receive any more pain at all. If this is what this planet is about, the causation of pain is my first entry into it, then I'm going to have a different world, or live in a different world. So they do live in this different world, autistic children. get to the basic cause, the basic considerations, and they pulled out.
Hubbard believed and taught that bad experiences were stored in the cells of the brain and were called engrams.
By addressing the cells of the brain, and we've got a way of doing that, they shed themselves of inhibitions to their proper functioning.
So let's just recap on the similarities between Scientology and Kenja, in my opinion, that is. The main leader, Ken, lied about some of his past, such as his military career, but he also lied about his father's past, which is really strange. He claimed that his dad came over from New Zealand as a baby and grew up on Daly Water's cattle station. We call them cattle stations in Australia. The rest of the world calls them cattle ranches. Anyway, when he was 3 years old, apparently he wandered off and got lost and was raised by an Aboriginal tribe. Then he was found again at the age of 6 and returned. But after looking through records, Daly Water's station didn't actually exist around that time period. So we have the aforementioned embellished military career, Thetans, being clear, the language, TRs, touch assists, war walking, a galactic overlord, the concept that Ken is a fallen god, processing, they're also anti-authority, so police and government, they're health freaks, the use of hypnosis, anti-drug and alcohol, anti-psychiatry, engrams, oppressive people, and there are many other similarities which I will go into in part 2. These include fair gaming, shame, degraded beings, exploitation and abuse. I'm going to reveal the darker side to Kenja.
The nakedness was not so much a big thing in wall walking. The nakedness.
Please let me know what you think of this video in the comments. I greatly appreciate your feedback. If you could also like and subscribe, it helps the algorithm. And check to see if the notification bell is activated to make sure that you don't miss part 2. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you.